Well, what's the crack, everybody? How are you getting on? Welcome to another buckshot. Tom Mohan here. How are you doing? Clattered 10th of September is going to be in the Inn in Cahir, County Tipperary. I'm also confirming right now the tickets are going on sale tomorrow, I believe, for October 1st in Judge Roy Beans in Newbridge, with the mighty Keith Walsh is going to be opening for me. So, there. Go for an out shot and look down the show notes. You'll find tickets. So if you're a Kildare person or a Tipperary person, feel free to pop along. I'm going to be bringing it to Galway for the Galway Comedy Festival as well at the end of October. You can catch it. I'm going to film it in Galway. I don't know. We'll see. It may be the end of it. I've got a couple more places in mind, but look at that's where it is for now. Anyway, it's in Tipperary and Newbridge. Thank you all very much to the Patreons, of course. As always, ye would have gotten the ad-free version of this. Yeah, they have listened to it, I guarantee you, without the ads. So if ads give you a pain in the hole, pop on, join up, support the show for $3 hairs a month. $3, and you get the Ramble Pod during the week, which is purely for the Patreons. You get the video of the podcast, and as well as that, you get to do the live shows. Jump on the live shows every couple of Sundays. We jump on a live show, pick a subject and have a bit of crack. So there's something there for you. It's not just give me money, give the show money. It is what is the lifeblood of the show, of course. But sure, look, even if you don't want to do any of that, hit subscribe if it's your first time listening. Hit the bell as well, because that way it'll pop into your phone or whatever device. I would wager it's about 99.99% phones, but it'll pop into whatever device when it arrives every single Friday. If you are following on any of the usual platforms, it's Tom O'Mahony Comedy or Buckshot Pod. Do me a favour, if you can't do any of those things, you're just going, I'm not tech savvy, Tom. Listen, I'm listening to this through this, I'm listening to this on the wireless. Screen grab. Let me know where you're listening to it. Tag the show, tag me. It'd be class. Just to let me know people are out there. There's of course merch and all the rest of it. Go for it. Go for a link there. Everything's there. Have a gander at the whole lot. There's a whole gambit of Tom stuff there. So that's it. That's the social. That's the house caping out of the way. Today's guest is an amazing stand-up. She's doing groundbreaking stuff, in my opinion, when it comes to posting online. Gives you an amazing snapshot as to how you should be doing it. Showing you're funny, but not giving away nothing. Just showing you're funny and steamrolling around New York and soon to be the rest of the United States. But she's Irish, of course. Because why else would I have... No, of course I'd have an American. But at the same time, it's nice to know that the fantastic Katie Boyle is Irish. Enjoy. Katie Boyle, welcome to Buckshot. How are you keeping?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Do you know, we were just briefly talking beforehand, and I'm finding myself really honing into the people. But the phone is doing it for me. It's like, realistically, it's finding people that have my sense of humor. Like, you know what I mean? That's going, right, more of Katie for Tom. But you're, for anybody listening going, okay, I know that name. What, you're based in New York all the time, aren't you?
Yeah, I am based in New York. So I think most people who follow me on social media are American based. So yeah, if there's any Irish listeners, please come over. But like, it's more American than Irish, or maybe it's Irish in America though.
Oh, is there? Now tell me more, because that's what I was thinking. Like, you cute fecker going after the diaspora. That's the way to do it, really, isn't it? Like, next you'll be opening Katie Boyle. Katie, you put in an O and open your own pub and your own comedy club and everything, and just fleece all the diaspora.
No, not at all. I don't talk about anything like that. I was just thinking there, because when I look at my because you can look at your analytics and where people are based that they're following you, and it's like 70% of people who follow me are based in America. But then I was just thinking it could be also Irish immigrants, so not like Irish Americans, but there's a lot of people my age or who moved over, so maybe it's them. I don't know, but I was just like correcting myself that it might not be all Americans. But no, I'm not getting up here saying diddly I fucking hate when comedians which you see. That's not any of my comedy. Even people will say like, oh, it's so frustrating because everyone I meet from all different places will say that I don't have a strong Irish accent. And it's like, firstly, I do perform in a country where I never had I didn't have what the stereotypical strong Irish accent. And also, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? There's like
Cork.
There's like 72 different accents. I'm from a town outside of Dublin. So if anything, maybe my accent is closest to a Dublin accent, but even then there's like 50 accents in Dublin, so fuck off. So like I'll go home and my dad lives in the countryside and people will be like, yeah, you don't really have an accent anymore. And it's like, I never had your fucking accent, pal. Okay. Yeah. I'm not from this county. I'm not from Longford. And then I'm here and people be like, Americans be like, you don't have an Irish accent because I'm not like top of the morning to you. And I'm like, yeah, no, all those movies you see, that's also not our accent. That's
Yeah.
you guys doing this fucking weird. So yeah. So I would never be like, oh, shamrocks or whatever. Oh, that's the thing. I had to slow down so they understand me. That's the only
what I was
difference.
going to ask. What it's probably the speed more than anything.
Yeah. Because when I first started comedy here, they didn't have a fucking clue what I was saying. So, and like, it's really important for them to understand what I'm saying.
It's right up there. It's
yeah, it's not. I'm not doing. Even if I were in Ireland doing comedy, if I went to different parts of the country, you have to like change your speech so people understand you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's just like I'm not. That's just kind of something you have to do. But yeah.
I mean, with their point of reference, I found with Americans was Conor McGregor. And it was like, but you don't sound anything like him. I went, well, yeah. Does, in comedy terms, does Joe Rogan sound like, I don't know, somebody from out west or out from the south? They couldn't grasp that we wouldn't all obviously speak like that lunatic.
Yeah.
So it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and even I went home and people were like, oh, like a couple of people were like, you have a bit of an American twang, which I don't think I do, but I'm sure there's certain words that that are now in my vocab.
There are Irish children, Katie, with stronger American accents than you that have never
Absolutely.
haven't left their house in the state.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, the cheek of you while you're wearing Jordans to criticize. I'm like, hey, I love Jordans, but have a good look at yourself. Okay. Yeah. It would make sense. I'm nearly a decade in America that I might have picked up some words, but the fact that they criticize me and I'm like, you look like you just walked out of Williamsburg. Get out of here. Yeah. So, and I mean, like, yeah, whatever you want to judge, but like, it's just so funny that they would like say, oh, you say, sure, and weird. That's like an American way to say it. And I'm like, and then I'm over there and they're like, it's funny because like I found that Irish people would be like, oh, you're so positive. That's so American. Which I'm just positive in general, or I'll jump off a bridge. It's not.
Yeah, no. There's no gray. There's no gray.
Yeah, I don't want to be not positive. So then I'm in America and they're like, oh my God, you're so positive. Like Irish people are so positive. And it's like, they're both like, no, that's just a me thing. It's not Irish people. And then Irish people think it's Americans. I don't think it's New Yorkers anyway. They're all very like kind of sad.
Yeah, for the brief period I lived in New York, there was a dourness. I was okay with it too. It was like every day was Monday. It's
the perfect place for Irish people to go to. No wonder there's so many Irish here.
It's a good jumping off point. And I think the reference people would probably get to, the people that show up in Dublin comedy clubs that are tracing their roots, Americans. And they've got big shiny white runners and they've got big shiny teeth and they're super positive. That's what Irish people do in stereotyping. So with us, with us, they just assume, well, it's the land of bountiful places. Sure, of course, Katie's going to be. Of course, she's going to be absolutely hopping with excitement at every moment. Like rather than just going, no, I'm just happy. I'm either this or I'm going to murder you all, one or the other.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Where is it? Kildare originally?
I'm from Kildare. Yeah,
it wasn't because I lived in Leixlip briefly.
Yeah, I'm from Leixlip.
Yeah, it's actually not a bad spot. It's not a bad spot.
Depends on who you ask.
But... Yeah, but that's exactly it. Like we found it grand for the couple of years we lived there. Like it was grand.
Yeah, look, it's close to the city, and I feel like they've gotten more places recently. I haven't been back in probably 5 years, but it was like fine. There's like that Leixlip Festival, which is good fun.
Yeah. Now, so you're 10 years in America. That's amazing. Because I was trying. Was it not 10 years? No.
Well, I just rounded it up to a decade, but it's 8 years in November.
Era.
Close.
10 years. Yeah. So 8 what was the decision? Was it straight out of college kind of thing or later fuckers?
Yeah, pretty much. Just I went to art college, so they kind of say like go to London, Berlin, or New York, and I'd gone to New York on a holiday and I really liked it, and I got the visa, so it's just like feck it. But I didn't stay obviously for art. I stayed for comedy. So
Hey, hey, that is
yeah,
kind. Come on now, you're doing yourself a disservice. It is art to a degree. I mean, if you know, it is.
yeah.
It is art. Is it art? Is it considered an art form?
To some people, it would be considered entertainment. I guess like it is very creative, and it's like a storytelling considered an art form, or I mean, it's like kind of both, I guess. So I don't know. Some comedians would roll their eyes if you said it's an art form, and others would be mad if you said it wasn't. So it's very controversial.
It
I
is
better
very.
not. Better not have a strict opinion on it.
I know, and I'm just going to turn. Excuse for being so rude. I'm going to turn off this phone because it keeps on buzzing, and I guarantee it's a bloke that keeps on making a bollocks of a poster that I've. We can discuss
wait,
that in a minute. Have you?
wait, what did you say? You broke up. Sorry.
I'm just going to turn off this phone 1 second because the guy that keeps on making a bollocks of it, he keeps on spelling my name wrong. Keeps on sending me a poster going, "Is this one okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's grand," but you keep on spelling it, and that now I'm fucking done with him. So I'll just turn this off 1 second, Katie.
No worries.
Perfect. Right. It's off because, yeah, that's your man, man keeps on emailing me and it's like, is this one? I've got, and I sent him a perfectly fine poster, but he wanted to put his own twist on it. So, like, oh, for the love of
Yeah.
Jesus, Jesus. And it's in Kildare, actually. I'm not putting the guy down for that, but it is in Kildare. But so you went over, and how does stand up? I hate doing but I'm really interested in your story because so many people go to London, so many people go to Australia or New Zealand, give it a go, but you very very rarely hear, even though it would make logical sense to do exactly what you did, rather than having to go to London and listen to English accents and whatnot, or go go to the other side of the world. You went where plenty of Irish people have gone before, but not probably for stand up comedy. How did you go and giving this a go, or had you been doing stand up here?
No, so I started 7 years ago in New York. So I started here. So I had the ignorance, which was great, of not
Perfect.
realizing that that's like the comedy mecca of the world. I don't know if mecca is the right word to use, but like that's like kind of like the big place for comedy, and a lot of comedians go when they're like a big fish in a small pond, so they're already like pretty amazing at comedy. So I was just pretty ignorant about it all and just started there and loved it and just kept at it. But in one way, I think that was kind of good for me because then I didn't have any ego about it. And I feel like people come and they're a little miserable when they don't get what they want straight away, or they have this like, whereas it didn't matter to me that things were taking its time, or I got things early and didn't realize, or whatever. It was just kind of like go with the flow for the most part and just work hard at it. Whereas I have definitely seen people be like, I was like a headliner in my place, and I was like, I wasn't even funny in my place. So, like,
what a
whatever.
what a fuck you. That's the best fuck you I've ever heard. I wasn't even funny. So
Yeah, it's like get
shut
over
up and eat your
yourself. It's
pizza.
fine. Yeah. Um, so I do feel lucky, but like I wasn't the only one when I came a while after this. Other Irish comedian came, and then Sean Finnerty had started in America, but then he came to New York, but he'd started in a different place. And then there's Maeve Higgins, obviously, and she came as well, and she runs one of the best shows in the city. So there is a few. There's probably about four Irish, and then there's obviously Des as well, and he's in and out of here. And I think his brother just came recently, but so there is like a few like Irish comedians here. Not like a lot, obviously. I think it's like five.
But at the same time, you're the only one that pops up on my phone. Like the regularity of your stuff, and it looks great on top of that too. You know what I mean? And let's be honest, that's where it's going nowadays. That's where it's gone. Is if you want to put your flag up, that's the fucking best way to do it.
Yeah, I remember when I first started like posting stuff on social media, and actually like a few comedians unfollowed me because at the time I had so little followers I like would notice it or whatever, and
Okay.
I was like insecure about it. This is when I first started like years ago, but I remember being like, and I get it, it's like annoying someone's posting every day, but I was like, I'm just gonna fucking do this and I don't care. and like comedians were like a little judgy about it. But anyway, then my stuff started taking off, and they're the same comedians who were like following me again and messaging me, asking me for advice. But like, it's just kind of like one of those things that I'm glad I did. And even now to this day, because that was years ago I started, and like, I'll be kind of like, fuck, am I posting a bit much? But whatever. It's like you just have to. And other comedians I'll see who've started way past like later than me are like flying like 50,000 followers more, but just from putting the head down and just posting loads of times a week. And it just, I feel like it's the one place where it does pay off if you do it. Fingers crossed. I think I'm shadow banned right now, so I'm pissed off at social media. But
oh, tell me more. Did somebody go looking for you
well,
and go, Katie, I had to literally write your entire name out and put in your blood type to find you?
no, it's more like you can get these little bans where if you say something or if people keep reporting you. I definitely got reported a bunch because I did like a immigrants are the true patriots joke. And I
Yes.
think Americans got really annoyed about that. And then the but on TikTok specifically, I put up a video and it was like I said pubes in it. It was just my friend was on my podcast and she was just talking about like religion aspect when it comes to body hair.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the censored words. So you you can tell because they'll do it for like a few days where like anything you upload will have like no views. And I had to like unload the app, like delete the app and reinstall it, like because I was looking online how to like fix that. But yeah, TikTok's fucking insane. Like you can call women, you can post videos about how there was like a trend where men were talking about how they'd kill their like girlfriend or like how easy it would be. Like I could push you in front of a bicycle, and like that became a trend. But you say like pube or any sex education stuff or like you know, they really censor a lot of that stuff. So it's just so annoying.
I'm getting an education here because I put up like that. I've only just started it, and it's the likes of you has been an inspiration because I'm like, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense. You're doing all this stand up, and a handful of people in a room are seeing it who aren't going to talk about you enough to generate an income from it. So you may as well put up videos, and the videos were flying it. And I put up one the other day that was like a 30-second me walking on stage, and the guy had been German, who was the host, and by pure fluke to get the applause started, he'd been using this one Polish guy and this one French guy, and then he got the two of them to stand up and applaud when I was coming up on stage to close the show. And I simply went, it's amazing that you all went for this and nobody has an issue with the fact that German guy got Poland and France and absolutely dominated the fuck out of them in front of us, lads, and nobody said a thing. You should be, and now, you know, it got a laugh. We understood it. Historical moment over in 17 seconds. Move on with the show. And I put up that clip, and I was going, how is this getting 3 views? But clearly,
Yeah.
because it
There's
loosely
definitely
talks about
words.
World War II.
Yeah. No, I do think because it's just like an AI robot, and so they'll just they have like a few words that are censored, so you just kind of get whatever. Like you have to like find loops around it. You'll see some comedians like they'll mute certain words so that it doesn't. So that yeah, and then they'll just write it in the subtitles, and they'll have like a dollar sign in it or a euro sign to help. But yeah, you know, it's like a fucking private business. So what can we do? You just have to put up with it.
That's the thing, because you see these things and it's people talking about like they just put up a picture, maybe they're just a thing saying, you know, aspirations to be a porn star, but they'll have put corn star. So what the fuck is this? A corn? What's oh right. The word porn is obviously banned. I get okay, right. I'm getting educated here.
Yeah, Instagram really shut down on any sex stuff. That was something, that they were very like, you can't talk about sex.
Yeah, because heaven forbid. But you know, you can talk about, as you said, like you can talk about people
murdering your girlfriend.
It is, yeah. A mate of mine, he gets continuously shadow banned. But he has a conspiracies website, a podcast. So it's, but he'll put up an actual. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Well, conspiracies are so funny. Yeah, my friend is from. No wait, who is it? Yeah, my friend did something about being Muslim, and she's convinced that it was shadow banned. And my other friend is from Palestine, and she posted something about Palestine, and like her other videos were doing great, and then that one like tanked, and she was like convinced she used the hashtag Palestine. So it's like we don't know. Maybe sometimes some things just don't pick up, but it is weird when you have a certain amount of followers and one thing's getting all of a sudden no views, and you're like, that's strange. What's going on here? AI robot. But they said that I read an article and they said it's impossible for those AIs not to be misogynistic or racist because they're basing all of their information off the internet to date. And so there's so much racism and misogyny and xenophobia. So it's hard for them not to learn from that. I was like, that's fucking mental. You would be thinking the one thing that would be not doing that would be AI robots because they're not like us, but they're learning from our shit. Oh, sorry that I keep hitting the laptop. Oh my god, it's the AI guy. He knows.
As soon as you said it, the laptop started going crazy. But it is, yeah. But this the same guy. He's on an FBI watch list and everything. Like it's at a serious level for him. Like so, if he he'll put up a factual picture from
the
history.
Conspiracy guy.
Oh no, he's huge. Like
that's so much fun.
His podcast. If you go look for those conspiracy guys, you'll love it. He's from Wexford, but you can see he tailors it for the American audience because quite literally 90% of his audience are American, and to say
they love conspiracies. They love it.
Oh, they love it, and he knows all the American politics and all the rest of it. Like when I go on it, I'm just talking stupid stuff like about Mickey's. You know what I mean? Because I'm an idiot. Like so, but. He does know all, but you'd see it. He'll put up a factual picture on Instagram of, say, Hitler maybe fucking in a pink, because there was like a variation of the Nazi uniforms. They were trying different colors, and there was one where they were pink, and he went mad, isn't it? And like got reefed and just told that didn't happen. But don't be putting that stuff up. He goes, no, but it's an actual picture.
Well, who cares? Who was offended by that though? You mean the alt-right were probably offended because they also don't like pink because it's feminine, maybe?
Who know? I think sometimes
Weirdos.
It's just like we'll just at all any possibility of revenue going out the door here, pissing out the door.
Wow.
We're just going to shut down anything that isn't
scary.
Yeah. But I suppose that's if we're hanging our hat on it to the same point though, it's been brilliant for the likes of you because you put up short clips that are just you'll get your laugh and you'll move on. It's really smart. Is you'll put up like a minute and that's and it's like lovely.
Yeah.
And you'll remember too, that kind of way.
They say the best clips to post now because after the pandemic, people's attention span got shorter. So it used to be 13 seconds, but if you can post 7 seconds, and it is funny because the guy who's like producing my album and special, he said it to me, and when I looked back over my clips, like the one that was the shortest joke I have, that's like 6 seconds, like did do amazing, and I'm like, and I mean, it's not even that's not close to one of my even like I was like, it's fine, I'll just throw it up because I'm probably never gonna do it again, and I can kind of get rid of it. But I was like, what the fuck? But it's just so short, so people just watch it. But about the conspiracy theories are so funny. I just saw one. The co-host of Guys We Fucked podcast, her, Corinne Fisher?
Yes.
Yeah, so she's amazing. She started doing these duets, and one of them was of this girl who has this viral video, and I went and watched it, and she's an American girl, and she says that feminism is a conspiracy, and she's a reformed feminist. And I know it's such bullshit. She was like, she said it's a corporation conspiracy to get more people to work, so they put women against men, and now women are stepping away from having children and they have to work.
I've heard that one. I've heard that one.
I mean, shut the fuck up. It was like, and they're stepping away from their maternal, and really they should be in the kitchen, like, and the men should be out working. And it's also like, actually nowadays there's a lot of men who my cousin, he's a like second generation Irish immigrant, and his wife is a first generation German immigrant, and her family had like fled Nazi Germany, and they like, her parents are amazing. They like worked like multiple jobs, and her and her sister got like scholarships so they could go to college. Like they were super poor.
Yeah.
She turned out to be like 10th top businesswoman in the world. But when he was dating her, this is like in the 80s, like, or early 90s, they were talking about having kids, and she was like, shit, if I have a kid, I don't really want to like give up my career. And he was like, I'll stay at home. You're gonna be like,
good man.
He was like, you're gonna be so successful. I'm not I'm not as good as you, because they're both bankers. And he was like, I'm not as good as you. So they had a kid, and he had two kids, and he stayed at home. And then she became like so fucking rich. They live in Greenwich. And he was like hanging out with all the moms, like, you know, going on these like mom lunch dates. But he was like, I don't know, I don't have an ego about it. She's going to be way more successful than me. But like, you know, so like, it's like her theory of like, oh, you know, no one's staying at home with the kids. It's like, this guy did. And I mean, anyway, sorry, a nanny's fine. Fuck off. If I'm rich enough to have a nanny, I'll have a kid.
But my brother-in-law did it. Because
yeah, so it's not just on women. That's
no,
like,
it's
men should be allowed.
It was an easy decision for him. Like it was like, yeah, what? No, what? Like, because my sister has done well. Like she was like, well, no, what? Do we pay somebody a fortune, or do you want to stop at home? I'll stop at home. I'll have the dinner ready. Go on.
Yeah.
You're grand.
I would love that. I would love to have a stay-at-home dad making me dinner.
It's I think these days it's 6 1 half dozen the other. Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Like I think people do love to project these big holy Jesus moment, but really it typically boils down, all these things and conspiracy theories and everything, all these things boil down to like like what's happening in the moment. You know what I mean? It's normally amongst a couple. I did hear the one, like that one, all right, that they were claiming back in the 60s or 70s that they were trying to get women to work for tax purposes. I can kind of buy that they want to fucking tax them. I can buy that, all right.
Yeah.
But suggesting that to steal their children away from them, I don't know. Yeah,
so that they're not like to steal their maternal. But like, it's also like loads of women didn't have to go to work either, and for a lot of households that was great. They were like, oh, thank God, second income coming in or whatever.
Yeah, so but then again, I can never buy anything on social media when somebody talking to camera like that, all serious. Like her
she had like the conspiracy sound, you know, that audio where it's like I thought it was going to be a video about UFOs. I do love all that UFO shit though. I watched there's like the History Channel over here, and it has a prove it wrong, or I don't know. I was doing shows in Canada, so I was just like watching whatever they had on the TV, and it was like super interesting. They were like either saying that this could be a UFO picture or like debunking it, and they kind of like or deproved it, whatever the word is. They deproved a lot of it, but it was like fun. That's cool.
I really like the idea of the aliens one, but I like the idea of ancient humans one too, that were way older than that one. Really gets me going. That we're
What's that one?
Oh Jesus, Katie, I'm sending you down a fucking rabbit hole here now. You will go bananas because the actual evidence is there. There's whatever about aliens and Sasquatch and all the rest of it, but you know the way really the history books don't go beyond like 7,000 or 8,000 years ago. You know, they go, well, there was the pyramids, and then fucking before that we were scratching around, and then there was ice, and look, and that's where they kind of leave it. But it would seem they were saying, you know, there's no real link to. Just a handful of us were wandering around in the snow, and that's it. Let's just forget about it. Well, it turns out with global warming or whatever, if that's real, even Katie, if that's even real, but
I think it's real.
Yeah,
I'm super tanned after being in Ireland. It's fucking real. It was fucking Spain over there right now.
32 degrees here the other day.
Might do well for Ireland's tourism because people can't go to the south of France or Spain anymore. They'll be coming to Ireland, all the Americans.
We're in the golden age of our tourism will be the next 5 to 10 years.
And then our kids will all be dead by 30.
So anyway, it turns out they've traced this way further. Like we're talking 120,000 years ago. They found like fairly high-tech agriculture from 120 in the Amazon.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a guy, Graham.
So they think we were just wiped out and then restarted?
That's what they think. They reckon a big old meteor hit the place about 13,000 years ago and buried the likes of, like, what's really threw a spanner in the works was a place in Turkey called Göbekli Tepe. And they found it, and it's actually a city that was covered with sand and earth or whatever. And they've unearthed it and went, oh, fuck. Oh, this was we know that this was 12,000 years ago. It could have been 112,000 years ago it was even built. We don't, what? But it seems like a big old rock hit the place and it got a reset about 12 or 13,000 years ago. But pre that, we were unreal, apparently. Really good at shit.
What's unreal, though? We had like electricity and phones and shit.
No, you see, this, not necessarily, we wouldn't have necessarily gone that way. Like they reckon had Tesla had his way, we wouldn't even needed wires. Everything would have been done like copper wires that's powering your phone or anything else that is archaic. We're apparently at least 100 years behind where we should be, because the likes of JP Morgan and stuff like that had a copper mines and went, well, I need to be selling this fucking copper as wires. But Tesla had worked out a way of transferring electricity across a room using
Wow.
the atmosphere. So he was like, what are you talking about? No, that's like putting square wheels under a car. Fuck off. And he was like, well,
Yeah.
I've got a load of square wheels. Basically, so we're behind. But no, in what they found in the Amazon, a thing that would only be through a really intricate way of doing it in a lab and converting really shitty soil into really, really good quality soil. They found
Wow.
swathes of this soil, and we're like, because it's pure muck, like we're talking, you could do
Yeah.
nothing with it. But these swathes where they were growing stuff was this particular soil, where through some very, very strange way they were able to turn this soil, not just from being shite, but into super high quality stuff just to grow in these lines. And he was like, that. So, like, we may not have ended up going down the path we went at all with cars.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like, we might transporting ourselves a completely different way. Like, we could have gone in a different route altogether. But
Yeah.
the world's major archaeologists, what makes it very dodgy, they just signed basically an NDA to every archaeological crowd in the world, going, you can't be talking beyond 10,000 years. Well, that's it now. No more. No more of that. Don't be
That's
talking.
so weird. But that's like a very like our people, our set of humans or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, when you say about like the copper mines, but it's the same with global warming. They could have stopped it a long time ago, but they just want to sell, sell, sell. It's the same with even the food over here. Like all the people with diabetes and struggling with like obesity, and they had all this corn, so they didn't know what the fuck to do with the corn. So then they just put all this corn syrup and everything, and like it doesn't even, or even like their Subway bread is like illegal in Europe. It's
Yeah.
just they don't everything they could do to make the future better, they're just so in the moment. It's like money, 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 now, and like I don't know, it's just mental.
That is kind of what I think the world now realizes about America, is that, oh, that's what you base everything on. It's just
Mm.
money. Just based on, now find me a country that doesn't have some basis in that, like, you know what I mean? But America are so superpowered like that. The corn syrup, sure, I mean, that it's literally so inert, no human should be touching the stuff. Like, you're not supposed to be anywhere near it.
Wild.
How do you kept in great shape? Because I blew up the first month I was in America. Now I got myself back on track, but I, like, their portion sizes and everything was like, and there just seemed to be sugar in bread. Like, why does bread need why does that need, come on, lads. I bet old bread doesn't need sugar.
I did blow up as well for the first 6 months, and then I like, and I mean not blow up, probably just went a size bigger, but enough that fucking people still mention it 7 years later, and like drives me up the fucking
Shower of
walls.
bastards. Do you remember that
I
time,
know,
Katie? Are you
I
serious?
know, it's insane.
What kind of a tramp of a friend would say that to you?
I recently bumped into a comedian who hasn't probably met me in 7 years, and or like whatever, 6.5. And he was like, another comedian was like, you know, Katie, and he was like, no. And now he's been kind of off the scene. He's shit anyway.
Yeah.
And
You
I
didn't
was
have
like,
to tell me. I knew full well he was
yeah,
shite. Yeah.
loser. And he was like, I go, oh, I'm the Irish girl. Because like, you know, not a lot of them wouldn't know Maeve
It's
because she's on a,
handy. Yeah.
yeah, she was doing, you know, she wasn't like in this sort of open mic scene when I was back in the day. So I would have been the only Irish woman back then, like 6, 7 years ago. And so I was like, oh, I'm the Irish girl. And he was like, oh my God, oh, you've lost a lot of weight. And I wanted to look at him and be like, yeah, you fucking put it on, pal. But I wouldn't say that because that's fucking ignorant. But I was like, how dare you? And I haven't lost I was one size. But like the confidence, this man who's also like way bigger than he was, and like multiple sizes, and I had one dress size, and he's like, oh, you lost a lot of weight. Like, who said, get the fuck out?
Who the fuck? I'd like
But
to
yeah,
try
I
and wrap
told
my
him,
head around coming out with that. Like, Jesus Christ.
I know, I was like, don't say that, that's rude. So that's that me learning how to be American, because they'll be like, they use their voice as but no. And yeah, and someone messaged me on my Instagram story today being like, oh my God, where's all the weight? And I'm like, ooh. I was like going through my photos as well on Instagram, and I was like going down a rabbit hole because I was like, what are they talking about? What weight? And like I haven't had, and I'm just like, this is insane that you would think. Plus that also encourages like eating disorders. Just don't. And it's just like another thing with women. It's like we have to be like our weight is always commented on. You know, it's like,
Oh, I've gotten it.
uh,
I've gotten it a fair bit. Like,
yeah,
apparently, I'm a big fat fucker now in comparison to like photographs from 11 years ago. Like, what?
oh, fuck off.
Like, and I know it. Like, one bloke goes, "Jesus, you were tied to your man back then." It was like a picture from somebody's wedding that got posted up or something. It was like from 10 years ago. And I went, "Man, you can't put your arse is hanging out over the back of your trousers. What are you fucking talking about? Like, what are you
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about? You're an absolute fucking write-off." Like,
People don't like the confidence to say things when they're like, "Why don't you just go work on yourself first? Like, get out of here."
you have to believe that that's actually where it's coming from more than anything. Like, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, you a size bigger, you wouldn't even know, like, because you're a thin person anyway. Like, you're just a natural, as they call it, the greyhound breed. So, I
Yeah, and
mean,
I'm malnutrition, so I wouldn't recommend anybody to like the doctor has said it for 2 years. And when I was back home, I said this to an Irish person. They were like, malnutrition, that's kids in Africa. And I was like, yeah, and me, motherfucker. And it's not all kids in Africa. Africa's a continent. What are you saying? Get out of here. They're obviously thinking of
that's
like the troker box.
that's sweeping statement. That's kids in Africa. It is of course it is. Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah,
Because
like
there's no
the fuck.
malnutrition in fucking Lebanon right now. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, those stupid stereotypes. I was like, also, what? There's so many stereotypes. But yeah, no, I am because I'm just so busy and I forget to eat a lot. And like, so I wouldn't like people are always like, how are you so thin? And I'm like, I'm unhealthy. Don't be this. Don't be like me.
Is that what it is? Is it like you're just working so flat out? You're like, fuck it, I missed dinner. Is that
Yeah, I would say so. Because this morning to my boyfriend, I was like, "Do I have an eating disorder?" And he was like, "I think you're just forgetful." um, but yeah, I don't know. I think so for the most part. I do think though it's really important not to comment on people's weight, no matter what size, because you just don't
yeah.
know where they're at. Because if they have an eating disorder and you're like, "Oh my god, you look so good, you're so thin," that's going to encourage it. Or when they do get healthier and put weight on themselves, they're going to be like, "Oh." Or, if they're like bigger and struggling with it too, it's like, it's just a fucking, don't go near it. It's a minefield.
I'd never,
Say you look good, full stop.
or
Full stop.
just say nothing. Like, how does it even enter people's lexicon? How is it on their Rolodex to go in and go, oh, you know what I should mention? I'm like, I don't even see it. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'd be more interested in knowing how they take their tea than what shape they're in. Like, because I sure as shit have
Yeah.
nothing to do with their shape. If I was to blame for somebody getting really fat, I go, that'd be the only time I would ever consider it. I go, I'm so sorry. I've been sneaking in.
Yeah.
That's the only time. Because other than that, I'm like, maybe I'm really self-involved. I don't know, where I just don't. I wouldn't
No,
see
but
it. You know what I mean? Like,
I understand, like, let's say if someone's like working out and they've been working out for a year and you're close friends with them and you're like, great job. And you want to, I get that.
yeah,
But it's like strangers who don't really know. And like, let's say you're in a relationship and someone where you're like worried or something's happening, they've gotten really skinny and you're like worried maybe they're anorexic or bulimic or you're a parent. Like, okay, those are things. But like, just when you want to compliment someone, just be like, you look great. That's it. Finish the set. My uncle, when I was home, and he's a lovely man, but he was like, "You look great," and I was like, just like, yeah. And he goes, "Much better than last time I saw you." And I'm like, "That was like 5 months ago." I literally go to him. I was like, "Wow, that compliment really took a nosedive, didn't it?" And then he just started laughing. But like, it's so Irish. Like, just stop.
also, I think some people are very fucking awkward. Do you know that kind of way? It may come out of their mouth, out of their face, and then they're going, "Oh, I don't know how to deal with what I just said." No, I found that
And
with people,
yeah,
like, they'll come out, stuff will just fall out of their face, and they're trying to, like, we speak for a living, so quite a lot of the time, not always, but quite a lot of the time, not that it's calculated, but there'll be there'll be guides up and we're heading it in the right direction at the very least. Like, whereas other people, it's just floundering out of their face and you're going, for the love of Jesus, would you not stay quiet instead? Like,
Yeah, and a lot of people just think it's like that's what they would love as a compliment. So of course it's like when it's not like out of badness, but yeah, it's something for people to definitely think about.
Tell me this, because the New York scene, as you said, like, it is a mecca, if a mecca is the right word, but it really is, like, it's the sort of place where you can bang out like 3 or 4 gigs a night. Like, if you were, if you got your directions right, like was that you for the first couple of months, or were you hooked
Yeah,
straight away? Like,
Yeah. As soon as I did it, like the next night, I was out doing like 3 mics a night. And I started running a show like 2 months in, and then I was like barking for shows, and which is
Explain,
like
explain, yeah, explain barking to people listening.
so it's just like out on the street being like, come into the show. And so I was doing that for like this comedian for the first 6 months. And so in a short period of time, I got a lot of stage time, but I was like willing to do anything for it. And then you get to a point where you have to stop doing that because then people will just book you because they think you'll do something for them.
Of course.
So yeah, you got to get good enough to. But yeah, I was running like 3 shows within the, for the in the first few months just to get myself on stage. And but yeah, you can do it along. I feel like it's so nice to get to a point where you feel successful enough. And I mean, I'm sure to most people's eyes, success is like famous in comedy. I think for me, it's like not having to go out every night and not like overdoing it and not
Yeah.
being exhausted and being able to live off it in New York. So it's really nice when you get to that and being able to go home for a week and not feel guilty about it and not like, because there's this kind of like sick culture in New York. And I think Irish people have this similar like hardworking. It's like part of us in like our
Yeah.
DNA. As you know, when you look at the history, there was always this work hard and then you die type of, and things will be good when you die. So yeah, in New York is very,
I love that. And things will be good when you die. There you go.
but it's true. It's that
Yeah.
sort of yeah, and Irish immigrants are very like I feel like it's part of the identity. So then New York City comedy is like, well, were you, it's very like, oh, well, how many mics did you do tonight, or how many shows did you do tonight? And you can get caught up in that kind of over
Yeah.
hustle, and it's like not healthy. A lot of people get sick and they get like just not funny anymore because they sort of start to hate it. So yes, you can do a lot, but it's nice to know when to like say no and when to like calm down a bit.
And that's the beauty of it, is that there is the opportunity of either. And like to be also like, and this is, nobody needs to know this on my podcast because it's been said many times that you do not have to be super famous if you're making a living from it. Do you know what I mean? You're doing better than 99% of the comics out there. Like if you can actually make a living, and a living being that I can take a week off and shag off home, and
Yeah.
go out to work, like that's class. It's the coolest privilege in the world, and to be good enough to get to the point where you can do that. So what, like, if you weren't a greedy bastard, what else would you want? Do you know what I mean? If you that's
Yeah.
nicely tipping. That's nicely tipping. You're tipping away nicely, like, where you don't, obviously you'll always want to get better as a comedian. You know what I mean? You'll always want to get stronger and stronger. But like if you get to that point where you're going, oh Jesus, this is going great. I don't actually have,
Yeah.
because there's a tipping point of weirdness then where you get to a point where you're super famous or whatever. And sure, that, who wants to realistically live in that lifestyle? Because then you're just pulled in every direction. You get weird. You can't walk down the street. You're in a sweetest spot ever. And do you tour then? Because you were saying you were up in Canada.
Yeah, I do started a little bit. So like I went to Canada just to co-headline and that was a lot of fun. And then I went to Boston to headline, which was fun. And then I'm going to Vermont and Connecticut and Texas soon, right before I record the album, just to like get it all done.
And
What
where
is
did you pick? Where did you pick to record the album then? This is very
Oh,
cool that you're doing an album. That's cool,
oh
by the way.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
thanks.
very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So I'm doing it with New York Comedy Club, which is a comedy club, like my home comedy club in here, and they're really great. And they have it's called Pinch Album Recording, and then the general manager, he's like big into he's helped out with a couple of specials, so he's going to produce it as a special. Now I don't really understand what that means, and he gave out to me recently because I said that on a podcast, and he was like, do you have no faith in me? And I was like, I have faith in you, it's me, I don't have faith. I mean, don't you realize I'm Irish? I can't be out here being like, I'm doing a special. Like, I'm like, that's very American.
Even
We'll
the word
see.
special is like, I'm grand. I'm doing a grand
Yeah.
thing. I don't know
Yeah,
if
I'm
it's
doing a
special. I
grand.
leave that up to you. It's
Yeah. So I was like, I have all faith in you and your like production and all of that stuff, but I still have to deliver on the day that it'll look well all together as a video. Like an album is different. It's like, yeah, it's 100% going to be an album. And he already said to me, because I said this on a podcast, he was like, it's 100% going to be a special too. And I'm like, yeah, grand. But we just don't know where it's going to be, whether it's going to be on their YouTube channel, if it's going to be on mine. he's pitching it to like a cool place, but they, I might not be what they want. They could want, there's one place that he has in mind that if they say no, he wants to do it like YouTube, because he's like obsessed with how like all the comedians post their specials there now. But yeah, it'll be a video element of it somewhere. So, and I have a couple of fun ideas for it, like a lot of the Americans comedians when they record their album, they'll have like a host and an opener, but I've decided not to do that, in the typical Irish way. Like my dad always says, why pay someone to do something you could do yourself? So I'm just going to do it all myself. And that way I can like go up and like talk to the audience, get as much crowd work in as possible, then do my hour of material. Because it's kind of like, I have the room. I'd rather just do it all myself and see what kind of bits I can get out of it to like promote, like I'm going to use the crowd work bits to promote it. And then for the special, I thought it'd be fun if we do it, like to have like little chapters and stuff, like, like in the old movies, where it'd be like, every time I move into a different set of material, like, like the family material now, and then it would have like the little places so people can kind of pause and come back and just make it different. I don't know how, but I need it to be different, something that'll stand out, fingers crossed.
I do. I love the idea of that you could and give it a title, to be
Yeah,
proper design,
called...
the old school dedesign around it too, like chapter 7.
Yeah.
Katie goes to school and then cuts to you going, fuck school.
This is why she's fucked up. Just parents ruin us or whatever. So and I'm gonna call it I'll do it myself too, because I have a joke about my dad saying that, so it kind of all ties in. But it'd be no matter what, it'd be fun. Comedians put a lot of pressure on themselves when they're doing their first album. They're like a lot of older comedians are like to me, don't do it that way, that's insane, don't try to reinvent the wheel. And I'm like, but like whatever, if it doesn't turn out the way I want it, it's like not the end of the world. Like I was just watching Sharon Horgan's Catastrophe.
Yes.
And Rob Delaney in it is great, and he's so funny and he's so successful, and he didn't have a great late night set. And I think that's like good for people to know, because it's like, I think there's all this thing on like you could never fail. And look, if you're fucking failing the whole time, maybe change career. But like this stress about not failing, I think it makes people worse, where it's kind of like, look at him, he had like a known to be like one of the worst late night sets, and he has like an amazing TV show and an amazing career. So it's kind of like, it's grand, it's like not the end of the world. You just pick yourself back up again. So like with the album, it's like, I'll do it that way, and maybe that won't sound great, but then I'll do it a different way in the future.
That's nearly a lesson for life for anybody in any job that's doing anything, like to be grand. You know what I mean? It'll be grand.
It'll be grand.
Do it
to
the point where you're having fun at the very least. Because so many times when I put so much pressure on myself, for big gigs and stuff like that. And then in the moment, then it's gone. And you're like, I'd say that was good, was it? I don't really know, because the build-up was horrendous. I had to put myself through this.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know, like...
And you're just not as funny. I'm never as funny when I get nervous. And like the other night, I was doing all these shows in Canada, and I was having so much fun. I was so confident. And like then a childhood friend came, and the show was still grand. But I was like aware. The second
you said it, I knew it.
I was aware fly in the audience, isn't it? I felt like all of a sudden I was aware of my body movement, and in that moment, like I remember being on stage, and I was, we're doing 30 minutes each, and I was like probably about 4 minutes in, and I was like, I need to pull out with this, because friends are gonna come to my album record. I can't they want to support, they're gonna be there, so I can't be in my fucking head. And I don't know why we put pressure when our friends are there, because your friends are the ones to she was laughing the hardest. I was, even when she was laughing, I was like, it's not that funny. Do she'd be like, they're gonna be as supportive, and it's like we put all this pressure. But that was good then, because then I was like, I need to learn to not let that affect me, or but it's just, you just can't be. You'll still be funny, but you just can't be as funny when you just don't give a fuck. Sometimes I've gone up and said like new jokes that don't make sense, but I've said it in such a I don't give a fuck that people have laughed. And afterwards I've been like, I didn't even say a word in the English language, but they're just laughing because I was so confident the way I said it.
Isn't that strange, like that? And that is the flow state that they talk about, like, you know what I mean, where you're just going, fuck it, here we go, I'm going to enjoy this, where you actually probably crack yourself up too, which is kind of obnoxious in one way, but especially since coming back after lockdown, realizing how much I actually love it. I was the same way, in that the best that I've had were where it just got so silly, and I actually start laughing at myself. But in a
Yeah,
way,
you're
like
like, what's
going,
going on?
I shouldn't be fucking laughing at this, lads. And I literally point out exactly what's happening. Going, I should be the one just only delivering this, but this is some crack in it, lads. Can we just step back for a second?
Yeah,
Aren't we
no,
having
that's
some crack?
fun.
You know?
When a comedian's genuinely laughing at themselves, I love it. When they're laughing like, and it's it's like nervousness, it's not good, or sometimes they'll laugh and like cover up the punch or whatever. But when you see someone like is genuinely buzzing off the audience and they're
Yeah.
having great crack, it's like that's so much fun. I love that.
It does, but now there's nothing more conceited than when you see somebody do their set again another night, and you're like, oh, the laugh's in the same spot. Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh
but
Jesus.
they're just doing that to fill the space. I feel
Yeah.
like there is people who like laugh and it fills the space or it takes away from it. I had a friend once and he would laugh after every punchline, and we ended up having to say it to him because we were like, "You're kind of stepping on the punchline and people can't hear you." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just really high all the time." And we were like, "Maybe don't then. Maybe just."
Yeah.
And when he does it, when he does comedy when he's not high, he's like, it's like a different. It's amazing. It's so much better because he's like genuinely laughing instead of this forced like kind of, I don't
Oh,
know.
and when do you record then?
So it records on the 18th of September, 7 and 9:30. So if any of your listeners are in New York,
They
please
are,
come.
yeah. There's a lot of them there, yeah. Yeah.
Amazing, come. It'll be fun. And I wanna, oh God, I have to like I want to design merch and stuff, which I haven't done. It's exactly in a month, so I'm a little stressed today. So as excited as I am, I'm still really stressed, of course, just to have it all organized. I have to like get it all perfect. But yeah, it'll be fun.
I think yeah. I that's a show I would like to go see because there's something that comes across. There's in your crowd work videos when you put it up. You have, I don't know, I'm get it quite possibly as a natural thing, or it's just worked nicely for you in that way. But there isn't an us versus them or me versus them, even though you are talking to them. It's all you. There's a feeling like you kind of half know you've gotten it under their skin brilliantly in that.
Oh,
Do you
good.
know, in a good way, like in a good way, there's a vibe straight away. You're like, oh, there is nothing this woman could say right now that would offend me because she's, she's what they again this they it's a great phrase I heard one time, but it's a wide, expansive phrase. But if you were explaining somebody and you didn't have to go into depth, you just go, they're one of our own. In other words, if we were all sitting down together, they wouldn't stand out. We'd enjoy each other's company. And that's what I kind of get when I'm watching your videos. Like, oh, Kate is one of her own. And they believe it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Even though it's a room of people from vastly different places than you, and you don't even have to explain that to them. It's like, yeah, everybody's kind of on board with the fact that, oh, she's running the show. This is going to be great crack. That is the
Yeah.
antithesis of what a comedian is supposed to be, I think, rather than just hammering fucking material down their neck.
Yeah. No, I love Daryl Breen and I feel like he does a lot of crowd work into his material. And I just think he's like, as the Americans would say, the goat, which for years I had no idea what the goat meant.
It still doesn't sit well with me. I'm sorry. It still doesn't.
I know.
Because all I can
I still
picture is an
don't.
actual goat. I can't. I know it's the goat, but it's the
What does it stand for again? Goer
greatest,
of all time. Oh,
greatest
greater.
goat.
Oh, yeah.
Although I did see somebody was holding a goat and somebody had posted the picture saying, and they were naming it, they called the goat some famous fighter. And I kind of recognized the name, but it was like, I can't believe such and such is holding Katie Boyle. You know what I mean? And it's
Yes,
actual
yes.
goat, no more description needed, no
That's
hashtag
so
goat.
funny.
I went, no, and that's it done now. In my head,
Yeah,
I went, that's it done. Nobody else
that's
is
it.
allowed to do it anymore.
No one's
That's
gonna
it.
beat it. Yeah, but no, Dara Breen is, and like obviously as well, the videos you guys are seeing are like the fun ones. Do you know?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put up the fucking, and I have offended people. I'll tell you, it's like it's not but it just depends. You're always gonna have someone who is gonna project their insecurity and doesn't understand what comedy is. Because I'll give you an example. I had that joke about how, and it's into a bunch of stuff, but it's just if I have kids, I want to be a dad just because I want to be able to leave. So it's like a silly little thing
Yeah.
about, and like my dad did leave, so I have fucking full permission to say that.
You
We
have
still
full
have
grounding.
we still have a healthy relationship, but I know for a fact if I have a kid, that whole maternal guilt, I'll probably, and I'm sure there's some mothers who leave because a lot of people wrote that on my, and I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
but calm down.
Jesus.
It's not the same. I wish mine fucking left, but it's not the, it's not the same. And in the course of history, men have always had that option, and then there's a lot of like single mothers or whatever. So, but this guy was like, "Don't," and he like, verbally. Now he laughed at the other jokes, but when I went into it about that, it was like, "Why is this?" And he was like, "Just don't do that. That's not," and he got really offended. But like, obviously, someone took his kids or something like that, and it's like, so like you can talk about how people take away your kids or whatever. That's your experience, but there's always gonna be someone who's gonna like take it personally, especially on the internet. But the internet's a different ball game. But yeah, I've definitely had that where that guy was very offended during my set.
That was something I was going to ask you, like, because the Americans, they are the most opinionated people on the fucking planet, like, and they let you know. That's one thing I found out day one when I was living there. I was like, oh, you just say what's on your mind, absolutely, don't you?
Yeah, with no basis, and no. A lot of the time, it's like, and I mean, there's obviously extremely intelligent Americans who know a lot, but you'll always, and I like look, it might be the same in Ireland as well. Maybe we notice it more because we're here, but I find that when people just say things that they don't know anything about, and I have a whole bit about it, but yeah, like questioning things on Ireland and stuff, but they say it so confidently that I start to like question it myself. I'm like, is Ireland beside England? I don't know anymore, so it's like they'll just whatever though. It's a level of confidence that's instilled in them here, and we have the opposite problem where we're told we're like to be so fucking humble. My friend is from Denmark and she's Kurdish from Denmark, but so both cultures are very humble. So she's had both of those, and she's a neuroscientist, and she spoke about it on my podcast, but she came over here and found it really hard to interview here because all the Americans were like, "I'm the best. You want to hire me." And she was like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine. I just have like a PhD in brain science, and it's like she found it really hard to sell herself. But yeah.
I know, and it's hilarious to say that because my sister has the exact same thing. A PhD in brain science, but if you asked her about it, she goes, "Hey, just stop with you now, stop."
I know, it's such an Irish thing. I'll be like, this. I could have bought like a new pair of runners or whatever, and they cost me like $200, and people be like, "Oh, they're so nice." I'm like, "Oh no, these old things, like I just found them in the bin,
on a homeless cat. I took them.
Yeah,
that's it."
It's funny. I find like in Irish people too, there's something we're very proud about when we get things for cheap or
yeah.
And Americans always laugh at me for that because I'll be like, "Oh," they'll be like, "I love your pens," and I'm like, "Oh, I got them in this shop called Pennies. They were like €14," and they're like, "All right."
A lot of Scandinavian cultures are very similar to Irish in that sense. They like it's a Denmark or something. I think the average car is like 14 years old or something, even though it's a very wealthy country, because like if you landed on the Ferrari or something flash, it's just accepted to basically call him a dick. What? What are you doing getting a fucking new car? It's just accepted. But it's funny. I rarely have gotten guff from audiences because a lot of the time they're in on it, or it's just kind of at a strangely aggressive level. They go, "There's no point because this fella isn't going to listen to us at all," or whatever I'm doing. It doesn't seem. A lot of my friends get people coming up to him afterwards, going, "That bit you said about orthopedic shoes." Now, my sister had an orthopedic. You're like, "Oh, for the love of Jesus!" But
yeah,
one of the most memorable ones, and they were American, came up to me in Dublin one night after a show, and the guy standing beside me, and he had a face like, and he was rubbing his chin, giving it the whole about to talk, because I was talking with the owner of the club at the time, and I went, "Oh, this fucker knows he's got something to say." And I turned, I went, "Before you kick off, mate, I'm off the clock." So
yeah,
you know what I mean? If he goes, "Look, I don't think you said it." He's a really good looking fucker. Like, "I don't think you said it, but my girlfriend thinks you said it. Did you open your show with addressing everybody as the N-word?" I went, "What?" It was one of the few times I was damn near floored with the ridiculousness of a question.
What did you say though that she thought you said the N-word?
Oh, literally, I watched the video back. It was like, "Well," or "Howie." It was literally that.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
These two, and he went, "I don't think you said it," and he was black, and he was, "I don't fucking think you said it." But my missus says, "What are you doing over here?" So what
was this Mrs. White?
Oh, of course she was. Of course she was.
Typical. Fucking typical. It's always fucking,
isn't it?
She's
the head of a dose as well, Katie. Like, she's the head of a dose. Like, you could see him from 200 yards away going, "You're a fucking dose." And he was a bigger dose for putting up with it. Like, because I went, "Man, if you don't think I said it, then what the fuck are you doing here? Just why didn't you correct her and go, no, you didn't say that at all."
But she's probably such a pain in the hole that it's easier for him to come over to you than have to deal with her for the whole
Yeah.
night. This shuts her up.
I kind of said something similar. I said, you might want to consider the our relationship in all fairness. I said, I'll give you background. First off, how long are you in Ireland? He goes, oh, we just flew in this evening. I went, okay, I'm going to catch you up real quick. That word would never be used here. Because funny enough,
Yeah.
that's belonging to Americans. Like
Yeah.
it's a room full of white people and you, mate. There's 400 white people and you. Why would
Yeah.
anybody get up and think that that was a normal thing? It wouldn't make it. And he
Yeah.
went, no, I get all that. And that made all sense in my head. And he says, it didn't even sound like that. But she thought it. I says, man, sounds to me like she was ready to be offended from the get-go. And he goes,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
could
She was
see the
definitely
guy's eyes
thinking.
twitching. So I said, look, go back and tell her I most definitely didn't say it. And from the horse's mouth. And she can retrospectively enjoy the other 29 and a half minutes that she heard me
Yeah.
speak. And he went over and I walked past him about 10 minutes later. She's just throwing me filthies. It's at the break, or it's kind of, it's at the break. And she's throwing me filthies. And I went over and went, is everything all right? She goes, I heard what I heard. I went, you fucking didn't hear it though. That's the thing. There's
Yeah. I've got a recording, bitch.
there's a rake of people here with even your fellow won't fucking doesn't think I said it. He's looking at the ground. I went, "Geez, man, you need to grow a set." And it was just the strangest because I heard what I heard. I went, "But you fucking didn't, you mad bitch." Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
turned it
stop.
on her
You'd want to.
I called her racist for a finish. I went, sounds to me like you're overly sensitive and not ready for the fact that you're going out with a really good looking black guy. I says, you shouldn't even see his color. That's how. I says, but it sounds like you're ready to be offended on his behalf because you're so super sensitive to it. I'd go far as to say you're a racist. And on with me coat and on to my next gig.
Yeah, overcompensating. And like it's mad in this world, you need to record everything because on a side note to that, a friend of mine, someone wrote in a thing that he's apparently, she said he did at the comedy club and he had his whole tape recorded. So and they were like, we know you wouldn't have done this, but this is hilarious email. So he put the email up on YouTube and then the video of her actually being like a complete arsehole. But it's like that's the world you live in. You have to need fucking record everything just to have a proof. Sometimes even with conversations with friends, you're like, I didn't fucking say that. And here you go, here's the messages. But it's pain out. But with that girl, I would have been like, I didn't say that, but what I am gonna say is she's a cunt and you can go tell her I said that.
I'm pretty sure it was something along those lines. But he was being so meek about the situation. I was more angry with him. Like going, shut up.
He could have jumped to conclusions as well. So it's nice he didn't, that he came over and was like, well, also there's lots of words in slang that they take differently. Like I said feck it once when I dropped something here and they were like, we don't say that word here. And I was like, oh, it's just like fuck it. And they were like, we don't care. And then eventually anyway, I found out that the guy I was talking to thought I was saying the slur for gay people and I wasn't. And I was like, well, I'm glad that I over communicated to him because I was like, no, feck it is like a slang in Ireland. And then another time I said, like underwear in Ireland is knickers.
Yeah.
But I was, I know. And when I first started comedy, it was awful because I got up on stage at an open mic and I said, like, it's so strange that people sell there. And I said, knickers, here, talking about underwear. And then I said kind of like the punchline. I can't remember what the fucking punchline was, probably shite anyway, but it was really weird because the audience really pulled back. And then an Irish American comedian, Justin Flanagan, got up and he was like, oh my God, he was like, this is so funny. You guys thought she said the N word, but in Ireland, that's the word for underwear. It's KNI. And they all like audibly went, oh, and I was like, thank God he explained that because I had no idea that they don't use that word and that word sounds like the N word. So you wouldn't know what you said, that she our slang and our words there. I'm constantly getting misinterpreted. And I'm like, how did you even hear that? But they also don't have context clues or realize that there's other slang or words in the English language, or they can't even pronounce Ireland right, even though it's like, just
pretty
because they say
easy. Yeah,
because they say or differently. So you wouldn't know what you said in your set that she was like, that's the N word.
But I could accept that. I could have accepted it if she went, she thought I said something. But when she went,
oh, no, absolutely.
If I heard what I heard, I went,
she is a fucking cunt.
How did they?
Yeah.
How many times do you get to drop? Have you poked the bear and drop cunt into sets?
Do you know what? Actually, I wanted to work on how like people get so offended when you say cunt, and how they're more okay with us saying it because there's like a musical element to it when we say it. Whereas when Americans say cunt, it's like can't. You know,
They
it's like,
land
oh,
too
you
heavy on
hate
the N.
women.
The
Oh,
N
you're
is too
pronouncing
heavy.
all the syllables there. Yeah, it
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah,
sounds woman hating. So I think it's the same way like they say pussy, but I can't even say that. When I say it, it sounds like I'm saying something like really derogatory out of my mouth because it's not natural to
yeah.
our vocab, whereas cunt is very natural to our vocab. But I said cunt maybe 10 times in a set
Brilliant.
where I was like, and I got the audience to say cunt, and I was just kind of I was just spiraling and having fun. And it was funny because I didn't know there was a movie director in the audience who had specifically come to see me to see if I was good for a part. And I was like, truly would have been nice for the heads up. I wouldn't have said cunt 10 times in my 15-minute set. Now, in fairness to him, he still wanted me for the part, but the movie hasn't ever really, I don't even know if it's ever going to really happen. And he would still have to sell me to like the producers and stuff. So it was fine. But you know, I wouldn't have said cunt a million times if I knew there was. Now, thankfully, he's Irish American, but if I had known there was an American fucking film producer in the audience.
Do you know what? I love there's because he got the raw honest you though. You know that kind of rather than the pre-prepared. You
Yeah,
know, there's a
yeah,
guy
for
in
sure, for sure.
I prefer that because fuck him after
I
that.
probably would have bombed. I probably, if
Yeah.
I would have been so nervous thinking there was, and like again, nothing might come from it. Even though if you hear my dad, he's like, "Yeah, Kate's going to be in a movie," and I'm like, "No, that's
Brilliant.
not, not. It hasn't even
It's him
happened
speaking to
yet."
the universe. We're all using our universal. We're to talk to the
Yeah,
universe now for things. Apparently, if you're to listen to the rest of the gurus
yeah.
and
Come
shit.
on, universe, give them the money to make this movie. But yeah, still. But yeah, so I have said cunt on stage for sure.
Fantastic. That's if nothing else. This podcast we've gotten to that. That's amazing. But you have a podcast as well, The Shift.
It's
Class
called a
name.
shift.
I love the fact that you're based in America and you called it The Shift. Like,
Yes.
no doubt they had no grasp as to what you were on about from the opening. Like, and I'm guessing you were talking about the Shift.
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
Good.
an American brought me up on stage once. Usually they'll ask you like, and it's really important there which I feel like it's not in Ireland, but they need like credits. Now I have no fucking TV credits, so I'll just say my podcast. I'll just say, oh, you can say The Shift. And so she got up and she was like, she has this amazing podcast about bartending and waitressing called The Shift, and it's not about that at all because it's about kissing and sex and relationships. But she obviously just thought The Shift was like the shift at work, and she just like made up. Or other people have gone up and been like, she has this she's the host of The Shit podcast, and I have to get up and be like, yeah, it is shit, but that's not what it's called. Like, it's The Shift if you want to listen to it, but you know.
That's I had, because in mine I was thinking shift as in you're going to pick something up and move it over there, but that was just how you shift that fucking thing. But the shift, like working a shift, yeah.
So yeah, it's just kissing, dating, relationships, whatever sex. I mean, sometimes it's just the chats, but we talk a lot about like me and the guests are just like maybe new dating terms or dating in, you know, or like, you know, some people talk about their shame, like a lot like religious stuff or whatever. Like, I do feel like Ireland, we aren't religious, but we kept all of the shame. So we kind of gave up on God, but kept all of the bad parts of religion, which is wild. I don't know why. And like, people will be like, no, we don't have shame. We don't have shame. That's bullshit. Ireland is so fucking, when it comes to women, like, oh yeah, we can have abortion now and we can have gay rights, and that's great. That's great. We are progressive, but we're still fucking internalized misogyny. Like, women slut shame. We slut shame ourselves. We have shame when it comes to masturbation. And I hope that the young generation are getting better. But I think
they
there's
are.
still a lot.
From what I meet, gigging and stuff like that, they seem to be interestingly very openly promiscuous in their speak. And it's like, that's good. That's good now.
Yeah.
Like, I find a lot of them chatting to youngsters after gigs, like they come up and stuff. It's like, you're an open book. Now, I mean, you two are two fucking idiots that I'm talking to right now. It may be the case, but it's great that you are the way, you know, it seems, I think it is that way because, and I saw a thing that made me very hopeful for the future. A couple of years ago, I did a presentation at my old primary school, which is a rural primary school. And from what I remember, the walls were green. There was still corporal punishment, even though none of my friends have, like, it had been outlawed in Ireland like 20 fucking years at that stage. But one teacher still decided to light me up on a fucking regular basis, like with a stick. But that's what I had in my head. So I was like, this dank out fucking place. But I walked in, and we were all savages as a result. We were all like something out of Lord of the Flies as a result of this teaching, like in this environment. But I walked in, and it was this beautifully lit, bright, warm environment. The kids were shaking my hand, these little 4-year-olds. Like, but level of politeness and manners out of these kids, and just very warm kids to anything. Whereas we were gnawing the skirting board off. Like, it was in my head, and it was a turning effect where I went, oh fuck it, you're going to be all right. You're actually,
I hope so.
Yeah, I think
but I still think, stealthing's a huge problem in Ireland. What is rape? What is consent?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Normal people, all the old people were fucking trying to vote it off the TV, but it's okay to fucking show rape. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that was a consensual sex scene. This is very educational. There's not enough sex education. There's not enough like talk around, HPV and how so many Irish women, like, what we had to like fucking die for people to be like, shit, we need to like, that's still in the last 10 years. So it's or period, that tampon ad is only last year they got that off the fucking TV while everybody was dying, but they were like, oh, we can't have a fucking an educational tampon ad on the TV. So like, yes, you're going to school being like, oh, these kids are going to be nice and stuff like that, but there's still so much for like women and like and for men too, to learn about like, consent is sexy and like what is that, and to talk about it, and women and periods, and for parents not to be embarrassed and just send you out into the fucking woods with like everything because they don't know how to talk about it. Like, all of these things need to be like still. And do
you think any place has that we could, we'll say in Ireland, we could go, that's a good roadmap, like, or they are doing it right? Is there any place that's doing it fucking bang on?
I have no idea.
I don't know if there is. Like I've tried to think about this before. Do you think so? Because fuck it, there's still a lot of fucking cavemen walking around fucking, You see, anonymity in New York is an amazing thing I noticed too, like, because, and the same in London, when you have a huge population of people all beaten in together, anonymity immediately comes. So with anonymity comes, I suppose, kind of a liberal kind of, and not liberal in the political sense, but literally liberal kind of, not the wrong word is coming to mind, liberal behavior. Like, you can have the crack and be as wild as a moose in a place where you feel nobody will know you. I think that's a big issue with like the big thing with Ireland. I used to do a bit about where people say in the UK, if somebody gets slightly famous, that's them made for life, because people will fucking cut themselves for a famous person. Whereas in Ireland, we're like, era.
Oh, they hate them. Yeah, you're like, oh, you think it's too big now?
It's a numbers game. If there was more of us, there's only 5 million on the island, and it's only half the size of the UK, where they have 70 or 80 million. So I was comparative to the UK at the time. So it's like, we all kind of think we're class. That's the fucking problem. We all have a notion about ourselves going, sure, he might be famous, but I could be famous too. Fuck him.
I could be on the, I could be on the telly.
So I've noticed too, when you get a large collection of people, like in a city of 12 million or 10 million, or whatever New York is, that beautiful level of anonymity, you can be a bowel scoundrel in your, without even thinking about it. And it's great. I love the idea of it, that you don't have any hang-ups, because you're like, sure, who's looking at me? And sure, all my friends are thinking,
I understand.
all my friends are thinking,
no,
the
you're
same
dead
way.
right.
Do you know? And this group of people, and it's a healthy way then of going, fuck you. Fuck you, who'd be looking at me?
Yeah, you could dress like a pigeon, and people are like, well, whatever they're into. No, I completely agree with you. I think maybe to answer your question, I don't know. I don't have a clue. I would just love that I've been over here and been learned about like my body and like, all this stuff, and had these open conversations that in turn, when I have a kid, I hope that I'll be able to also talk to them, and it won't be like any, there's going to be issues. I think Norway maybe, or some Scandinavian country, teaches like consent at a very young age and sexual education at a very young age. And I read a sex education book from the Brits, from two British people, I forget their names, but it was amazing. It was for age 7, and I was learning shit that I had no fucking clue at age, at the time, this is like this year, so 31. And like those type of things I've never really seen. I don't know. I don't have kids in Ireland now, so maybe it is changing, but I think so. Let's say like in Norway, I think it is that they teach like, okay, ask for a hug. And like, and Irish people that's so silly. Why would you ask? But actually that's a great thing to develop for kids to ask, can I touch your body? Hey, can I be in your space?
Yes.
And like just saying, hey, can I hug you? That's like, oh yeah, of course. That's like what a great. So they're already instilling that in young children in school. And I think that's
Yeah.
where it needs to start. And I think take the pressure off the parents. The parents are like uncomfortable. I think teachers should have to be trained in like like proper sexual education in classes, like what are periods, speaking to the boys and the women in the same room so they know like
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is what women go through. This is like the pressure to say no and have those conversations as they're growing up. I think will be really helpful because you're like, oh well, these young girls are promiscuous now, and like yeah, that's great. I was fucking promiscuous and saying yes to things I didn't want just because I
Yeah.
didn't know how to communicate, or I was stelted and thought at the time, oh, that's my fault because I was so drunk. This is in the last 7 years. That's coming from that culture.
Yeah. 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 I can only imagine that. I was hopeful at that in what you were saying that kids need to be. I must actually ask a couple of teacher friends of mine what have they been upgraded to talk about now.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. I'm actually meeting a couple of. There are two teachers, but they'd be very forward thinking people too. Like, so I wonder what they're. God, that's something I'm going to pick their brain about because we have a 3-year-old. Well, he's about to turn 3, and we're terrified. We know nobody with children. Like, I didn't know any children growing up, bar when I was a child. It wasn't like on our road there was a bunch of kids or we had small ones in the house. Like, literally, this is the first child. So we're trying to raise him. Kindness is all we know at the minute. Can you be just kind to every fucking thing? Do you know, that's what we're trying to get
Yeah.
across. And
And it's yeah, and
so far.
it's so easy for me to say I don't have kids. I'm not a teacher. So maybe some teacher be like, don't fucking put that on me. But like maybe there could be like a health teacher in every school that's kind of underneath there. Like they can go, like in the American schools, they have like a nurse they can go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I used to daytime bartend, and the father brought me in like the son's schoolwork, and the son is like 12, and it was all about like, oh, like label this like that's the clit, that's the vulva. Like what fucking Irish man knows that the vagina is just inside? What woman knew? I remember reading something that said don't clean your vagina, and I was like, what? But
What?
they're talking about don't shove something up it because your vagina is just the inside. But sure, I was never taught that. How the fuck would I know that? So like if there's like someone based on every school that is like, we'll do like these classes and you can go talk to them about anything. You can go about tampons, you can go, and they're like, that's like a course, that's like a 4-year degree. I'm a sexual education teacher or whatever.
Yeah.
That's how we'll change the world.
I think you're right though, in all fairness, because it'd be tough to put on a teacher.
Yeah, they might get in trouble. They might say the wrong thing. If it's someone who's like trained in it, because
I think too, if somebody's coming in, do you know what I mean? You'd sit up better, because if Mrs. Ryan is your best friend or Mrs. Murphy is your best friend, you might want to listen to her when she's saying, no, listen now, this is serious, okay? But you might listen if somebody else is, if there's somebody else coming in who's from.
I think there should be someone on the school. I think there should be someone,
yeah.
And they have like a little office you go to. They're like the nurse or whatever, like the way they do on a lot of college campuses. But by the time it's college, it's kind of a bit late, isn't it?
It's for everything, for learning manners, for learning anything. You've gone, even secondary school, it's way too late for, you have to, like, if you want to catch a jockey young, it's got to be young. Do you know what I mean? You can't be fucking becoming a jockey when you're fucking 17. A waste of fucking time. You got to catch a jockey. That's the thing. You got to get him young, get him on the cigarettes at age 4 to keep the weight down. You know what I mean? You got it. The only way to form things early doors is early fucking doors, like, and instill it that it's not a jarring thing later in life. You're going, oh, what's that thing I was supposed to remember? No, because it's like, that's why none of us fucking remember Irish, because it was just rammed at you in secondary school. In primary school, they didn't really give a fuck. You were able to say "do Honduras" or whatever. Yeah, you can still do the bits, like, but because it's just rammed at your throat. Like, if you were getting that from early doors, it'd just be ingrained in you as natural. Where you same what all we know right now is, can we make him as kind as possible and see what works from that? But it'll be very interesting. Like, we were up at the preschool to see, to meet the preschool people. And they were the loveliest people, but in no conceited way. They looked like they really enjoyed what they did, and in a lovely, healthy way. But what was very interesting was there was, and this will tell you how probably, well, not backward, but just how my mind wasn't ready for a chap opened the door, like a guy who looks like one of our dads. Do you know what I mean? And he looked like he was the greenkeeper. The groundskeeper was like, hello, come on in. And it was a meeting. Like, oh, what a nice greenkeeper. Lovely. And in and met 3 very nice women. And you're speaking away. And then he wandered into the picture. I'm like, oh, he's still hanging around. Oh, cool. Maybe he just wants to talk about greenkeeping, or you know, he's the maintenance dude or something. But I felt so ashamed that I didn't immediately assume that he was one of the teachers. He was one of the preschool teachers. I was like, oh, I'm a piece of shit. And he looked at me and went, you thought I worked here or something, didn't you? Or I was dropping off somebody. I went, I fucking did. He goes, I know. Because he in no way gave off not the loveliness that the other people were giving off, the women were giving off, but he was still a very nice man, but in no way would you have bought it. Like in a lineup, he went, no, you're not to be blamed. He says, nobody would pick me out in a lineup as being a preschool teacher.
Yeah.
But apparently people really enjoy it because it gives a healthy balance of two very nice people. Like they're actually a married couple who own it, but then they have other people working for them. But it was just it'll be very interesting to see what the take is for both the girls and boys in the school. Like just this, he's just a normal bloke.
Yeah.
It was interesting just to meet a normal.
Well, it's
fella.
nice. It's also just those jobs aren't just feminine jobs.
That's what I liked about it.
Yeah. Anybody can be good at any job instead of just putting us in these gender roles. I sound like I'm such full of bullshit, by the way, for any listeners. I also haven't a clue what I'm talking about. That's very important.
Like it, but I like it because I'm all for talking about that, because I grew up in a house of extreme, like I got. I'm not into a fucking row, but it was a bit of a fucking heated argument. I was with a comedian, she's a mate of mine. She was kind of going on about. She was able to speak. We can only speak from her own personal experience, but clearly her mother must have been dominated by the father throughout the whatchamacallit. And I grew up in a house where the women were the strong ones. Like, and this entire road, it's a matriarchy. Like, you know, it's absolute. It just is. Like, there's the blokes kind of just. That's the way it's always been. The women were the strong ones who ran the ship, and they could hit you, but the men couldn't, you know what I mean? So I went on two very successful sisters as a result of those, you know, so she just wasn't having it. That was the argument where it came from. I went, but it fucking can change. Like everybody's experiences is different. You know, it's hard to throw a blanket over all of us.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%. Like when I talk about my experience with sex education in Ireland and stuff like that, there's a lot of people who resonate with that. But then there's other people who come from other schools where they were probably like, great. Or they came from households where like period was talked about and stuff like that. So what I say isn't for the rule, and the same way what you say isn't
of course
the rule or whatever. It's just, but it's going to resonate with certain people, and for her, I'm sure that'll resonate with a lot of people where they grew up in households where men were just more like traditional masculine, and the woman was like meant to be submissive, and you know, and that's just her experience, but a lot of other people's experience as well, I'm sure. Not in my household anyway. Was definitely not the man being the aggressive one. For sure. So
yeah, I think I was talking with an Italian comic one time. He was an American Italian. He was saying the same thing, is that Irish and Italian mothers seem to be quite similar in a lot of their ways. Like, yeah, they can be wagons, there's no doubt, but do you know what? Ruled with an iron fist didn't hurt me too bad either. Like at the same time, like, you know, but I think we've probably solved the entire world's problems.
I know. I'm so sorry. I waffled on.
I enjoy that. No, fuck that. I enjoy that shit. But you have to. No, and also it's no harm to talk to somebody that has an opinion on it too, because so often you talk to somebody who's going, sure, I don't know. What? You know, and you're going, all right, fair enough. We won't discuss it. So fair enough. Like, there's no harm. Who the fuck do I talk to? Like, you know what I mean? As well, because as a comedian, you don't really get to talk to people like my wife. Actually, my wife was raised in such a bizarre place in comparison to me. She was raised in, you know, very nice South Dublin.
Where are you from?
I'm from Tipperary.
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
It was an absolute joy for having you on. So The Shift is the podcast, and the date of your filming your special, not your grand, although your grand is kind of hilarious.
My grand.
That's my grand.
So that's the 18th of September, so in a month. And and at Katie Boyle Comic is where you can find everything. Tell you, my boyfriend is like half naked doing work right now on a ladder.
We'll switch over to the Patreon link there. And
thank you so much. I actually have to head off for 3:30 anyway, so this is perfect.
Beautiful, Katie.
Okay,
it's been an absolute joy.
Again.
Thanks a million.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you very much, Katie. Like she said, go follow her at Katie Boyle. I'll put the link of her Instagram. Is the handiest place to go because you'll see the most of her, and you can follow all her websites and her dates of things coming up. She's got her show for the New York people that listen to this, because I know we have a gang of New York people listening. Go see her show. It's going to be filmed B class for her. Do you know what I mean? Just be class. Just be a class audience member. And she'll do the rest. Go find her show. Also, The Shift is a podcast. I still love that name. It's so simplistic and it's beautiful. The Shift. Thank you very much again, Katie. So we have Clattered. Like I said at the top of the show, Clattered's going to be on the 10th of September. I'm looking at the poster here. God, I do get tired of my face. I'm looking at posters here beside me. God almighty. The 10th of September, I'm going to be in Cahir, which I'm very excited by. Going to be getting drunk at that one, I may as well tell you. Then I'm going to be in Newbridge on the 1st of October with Keith Walsh opening for me. That's right, Keith Walsh of 2FM fame. He's done a few gigs, and I'm going to be punching up his stuff for him, put him through his paces before we actually do it. Just, you know what I mean, for a bit of crack. We might even vlog it, guys. You'd never know. If you want to become a Patreon, have a look in the show notes. You get all this stuff, ad-free content, and you get it early access. As well as that, you get the videos, the Ramble Pod midweek, and you get the live shows. What else do you want, lads? What else do you want? You want me to call around and tell some jokes in your letterbox? I'll do it. I'll do it. But anyway, for the rest of you, go on away, mind yourselves, and I'll talk to you again next week. Good luck and thanks.